Hello, everybody, and welcome to Auto Club Speedway. Dom Santina, David Westergreen here in the booth, and we are finally ready to go green flag racing here tonight for the ERSCA Belly Up Sports Series Chase Race number 2 here of the ERSCA Chase for the Championship. David, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. We watched a little racing at a dry track before this. Weird that rain came over Auto Club there for about 30 minutes, but we're back. We're ready to go. One race down in this championship, and we're looking to kind of determine who the real players are going to be among our 5 chasers for that championship. And due to the rain and the later time, it looks like only about 15 cars showed up for this race tonight. I'll tell you, folks, that few amount of cars at Auto Club can still put on a really good show, and I still expect those classic ERSCA fireworks.
Yeah, the one thing that might put a little damper on things with 15 is coming in before the rain delay and the late start. Cameron Rich was only 14 points out, and over 2 races, really, still that's not a whole lot, but it definitely doesn't help when you only have 15 cars in the field here tonight.
Yeah, he can make gains on these guys, obviously, but he's going to need to be pretty perfect today. And already in qualifying, you can see qualifying at least 4th quick. He's going to need some bad luck from those around him in the points, like Massey, Francis, and Delicato. Thus far, Austin Beers has not set a qualifying time. We'll see if he's able to make it to the grid, and it looks like he's not going to make a lap. So he'll be going from 14th if he's starting at all in this race. I don't know that he's even in the session yet.
All right, well, with that, we will set our starting lineup here for tonight. Going to be a pretty small field, as David said, but on the pole will be on the front row will be a couple of your championship contenders. Joe Francis going to have the pole position. Nick Massey will start to his outside. Scott Crump and Cameron Rich will be in row 2. Nick and Delicato and Dylan Thomas will be 5th and 6th. Row number 4 will be Matthew Weeks and Johnny Thomas, and rounding out your top 10 will be Seth Rawls and Josh Adams.
Might as well go through the rest of the starting grid while we're at it. Kyle Hanshaw starts 11th. Gerald Campbell starts 12th. Those are the 12 drivers who took time. 13th will be Ryan Gavel. 14th, Austin Beers coming from the back. And 15th will be Michael Goodman. I also want to give a quick points update. Nick and Delicato is the points leader after Darlington. Austin Beers and Nick Massey will be tied for 2nd after what was a crazy race at Darlington, especially for Austin Beers, who was sucked up into 3 accidents, but still managed to come home with a top 10 finish. Joe Francis is 4th in points right now. He is 9 back. Almost was able to capitalize due to that late craziness, but ultimately did not. And then Cameron Rich, despite leading the most laps, winning that I guess he wasn't even there for the halfway stage point last week, but he'll be 14 points back, and he just needs to stay within striking distance this week. I think if that 17 can leave within 10 points of whoever the points leader is, I think he'll have a really good shot next week at Homestead. With that, guys, let's do our picks for this race tonight. Carlos, who you got?
Oh, it's going to be a pretty tough one tonight. Last week, my pick did not do as well as I expected. I had faith, and he did finish better than what everybody thought he would have finished. However, I think it's time I go back and stick with Cameron Rich.
Had a feeling that one was coming. Dom, who you got?
I'm going to go off of our top 5 tonight. I'm going to go with the guy that is starting in the top 5, though. I'm going to go with Scott Crump.
Non-chaser for this one. Crump been a victim of some bad luck throughout this season. I'll go with a chaser. I'll go with a guy who's really good at saving tires on a track that grates tires like a cheese grater. I'll grab Nick Massey for this one. Also our outside pole sitter. "15 drivers in ERSCA getting ready to fire off. Joe Francis with the pole position. Pace truck is off. Green flag is out. Francis gets going and gets away, looking to lead a lap, grab a all-important bonus point to start this race. Nick Massey clears to 2nd. Scott Crump under fire from Nick and Delicato for that 3rd position. Cameron Rich riding way on the top side. They're 3 wide for 3rd.
Yeah, Crump stuck in the middle there. Finally will be able to go to the high side. Big move by Johnny Thomas going top to bottom. Looking to pick up a few positions. Looking under Matthew Weeks.
And Johnny just came from a race where he was leading with just 1 or 2 laps to go. Ultimately got spun out of 3rd place coming to the finish line. I think he's running with a little aggression tonight as he transfers over to the high banks of California from Daytona. Joe Francis leads lap 1, and that's a good bonus point for Joe.
Top 6 single file. Then they're starting to get after it behind that, including one of those guys on the move is Austin Beers, who is now currently up to the 7th position.
Yep, but it looks like that outside line really powerful as Seth Rawls and Josh Adams kind of go flying around some of these guys. Johnny ends up having to fall back and utilize that outside lane. I do believe Auto Club was one of the tracks that got grip stripped a few years ago. And yeah, Johnny is going to fall back even further. Oh, Gavel's going to go up and tag the wall. Don't think there's any damage on the 0-1. Everything's all right. Battle for the lead tightening up, though.
Still got a battle back here. Be right behind them, too. Scott Crump falling back a little bit. Nick and Delicato battling side by side with Dylan Thomas for 5th and 6th. Austin Beers going to dive down to the bottom underneath, and Delicato looking to take that 6th position away. At the same time, Dylan Thomas goes for 4th on Scott Crump.
Impressive run early here in this one for Austin Beers. He has shot through the field. We will wonder if this race goes green with only 15 cars. You'd think it might. That might open the door for people to be really affected by overdriving their tires early in this run. Austin Beers almost certainly has done that, but he's doing it to grab that track position back that he lost by not qualifying. And with this 3-wide move here, he's making it stick on the bottom. He's got Indelicato looking to clear Dylan Thomas as well. Got loose on the bottom. You don't even see him in the shot. That's because he's backing up right now, is Austin Beers. There he goes, behind, and he'll lose a spot to Matthew Weeks as well.
Yeah, he'll lose a couple spots there. Had to get out of it, trying to force it down there on the bottom, as David was saying that. Had to get down to the apron and let out, and he falls back to about 8th after that move, as he was challenging for 4th, going 3 wide there.
And before, I was worried about his tires. Now I'm absolutely concerned about the tires of that 19 car. I think they will be very lit up. He has to drive very gingerly as Auto Club, a place where you have to get out of the gas, but you have to be back in it for these long straightaways very early. Austin Beers is going to have to figure out how to cool those tires down, get them feeling better so that he doesn't kind of become a victim of this new package with all this horsepower. It'll be very easy to have those things overheated and then maybe spin out and ruin his day. If that happens under green, caution might not come out, and if that's the case, Beers can end up a lap down or even worse with some terminal damage on that 19 car.
Front 3 close together, but just kind of riding along at the moment. Nobody really challenging too much for the race. Well, Nick Massey's now closed in on Joe Francis. We'll see if he can make a move. He's trying to run the middle line right now through the corner.
You can just change lines to see what that would do for the back straightaway here, but if Nick's going to make a move, I think it'll be to the bottom here on Joe Francis.
Drafts up within half a car, but doesn't challenge to the bottom. Stays put through the corner.
Cameron Rich just riding behind this duo. Keeping that car on the bottom of the racetrack. I think the bottom's going to be the place where you save the most tire. Outside line might be a little bit faster, and it certainly will be a very useful tool to defend your defend your position. Driving defensively as here comes Massey to the top. We'll see if that has any offensive capability here as 48 car looking for the lead, but maybe just looking to get a little clean air in the corner and try to drive a different line than the race leader, Joe Francis.
Got a bunch of cars out back and forth. That's Goodman, Johnny Thomas, Campbell, all over the track, not making positions, but looking to make some aggressive moves.
These guys are out back here having fun. This is a group of guys who isn't running. Here comes Beers down pit road.
Yep, Beers down pit road. I was just getting ready to say that. I caught that out of the corner of my eye.
Oh, wow. This race had a late start. I do wonder if that's got some impact for Beers. We wouldn't have been done by now, though, but he had already slid the rear tires on that 19 car. He was going to be at the back of this field, I think. Wonder if he's a little, it's late, not much of a field. He's got an issue with it of some kind. We'll see, because that was manual. After last week's perseverance, I'm actually shocked that he would have kind of given up the ghost that quickly.
Here's a pass for position. Dylan Thomas from Scott Crump for fourth.
Yeah. Dylan's been good this year. He's often one of the guys you'll note is in a lot of these incidents, but he typically drives a very quick 0-3 car and is amongst the top 5 pretty much every week in terms of raw speed. And it's just sometimes he gets into trouble overdriving a little bit and being pretty aggressive. And I think in a race like this, fewer competitors, and what is probably going to be a long green flag run here at some point, I think that can really bode well for Dylan Thomas. It can keep him up in the hunt for this one, and obviously with his aggressiveness, it'll work for him later in the race.
Oh, with Austin Beers pulling down pit road, chalk that up to a victory for Cameron Rich. He'll be able to pass Beers in the point standings.
That is what Cameron Rich was going to need to. I mean, we saw before 14 points back. That's not a lot when you have a 25 car field, but that is almost the entire field tonight. And we will give out bonus points at halfway, obviously. Those are bonus points Cameron Rich will be able to take that, he'll be able to gain on Indelicato as well. And we'll see if he's able to grab these two guys in front of him. For now, he's chosen to ride about 0.6 of a second behind the lead. And he's closed it down to about 0.4 of a second. So, that's true. None of these guys were able to take advantage of them, and they're happening quicker this race. We're shortening down the distance a little bit, trying to get this one over with as quickly as possible because of the late race start time.
He's starting to peek his nose in here, though.
That's 17 cars. Ooh, Joe Francis loose off of the corner. Massey to the top of the racetrack. I think these guys are going to draft right around Joe Francis. Nick Massey to the lead. Cameron Rich to second.
Rich had to take a little bit of evasive action there to get around Francis, but now he's into second.
And Rich clearly a little miffed last week. We talked to him on the broadcast after his incident, and he had brought up some of the issues he had. Whether or not he was right, he's out this week. I think he knows that the gap isn't as bad as it could have been had Nick Massey or Joe Francis or Indelicato won that race. He knows it could have been worse, does Cameron Rich, and I think he can make up for it with a couple of good runs here to finish out the season. It might not be in his control at this point. If Nick Massey can just finish right behind him in both races and finish right behind him in both stages, I think that would be enough, but Cameron Rich is going to do everything he can.
He's going to the bottom right now, going on the attack of Nick Massey for the race lead, side by side down the backstretch.
One thing I've seen Cameron Rich's car do that no one else can do, at least this far into the run, is when he cuts it to the bottom of the racetrack and starts to gas it up off the corner, that car has not jumped sideways one time. It is rock solid. His throttle control is on point today, as it is most races, but I mean that's just what's making him differentiate from these guys he's racing around. And he's trying to grab that lap-led bonus point that would make 3 of our 5 championship contenders having led a lap early in this race.
Nick Massey's just getting such a good run, center off, hanging on there down the backstretch. Rich might be able to clear him this time. He cut up in front of him and got him.
Yep. That 17 car on 15 lap tires. It's the story of the season. We've seen it all year. He's just so much quicker in this middle part of the run. Not to mention, he was not one of the ones racing earlier in the evening, so he has more practice laps on this track than a bunch of these other guys. Some of them, just joined the session right before this race started. Didn't get any practice going in cold.
What would you say the pit window is here with these guys? Can they make it on one stop, or will they have to take 2?
I want to say they can make it on one. They certainly will try. But we will know by lap 40. If they pit after lap 40, they're going to one stop it. If they pit before lap 40, I think they're going to have to 2 stop it, and then it's going to come down to that optimization on pit road. now.
Six-
Cameron Rich.
15. Go ahead.
You got it, dude.
I was just going to say 15 laps down already. Cameron Rich, your leader, is expanding that by about almost half a second now over Nick Massey.
And you know, Joe Francis sitting back in third, led the first couple of laps of this race, and I think that's a good showing for Joe. He's got track position. He's got a bit of an advantage here. He needs to keep pace with the two guys in front of him if he wants a chance to win this championship. Don't think it's out of the question for Joe, but you know, he hasn't been in this position all season long, and it does help when you're able to run at the same pace as the guys around you. It helps your confidence. It helps your belief. Joe's a skilled driver. I haven't run with him so much, but I know from having watched him race this series, he's real confident. He's real clean. He can just stay right here, and I think he'll have a chance next week at Homestead.
Whole field pretty much strung out single file here at the moment. Not a lot of action going on track. Maybe the only battle is Gerald Campbell and Johnny Thomas still from time to time will run side by side.
They will. Gerald's trying to spin out right now down the front straightaway. He saved it. He'll lose that spot to Johnny Thomas. Also worth noting that Josh Adams is up to 6th from 10th starting position. And that 07 car that's the number 95 on your ticker is hunting down Scott Crump and Dylan Thomas. Dylan just tried the super top side. And I think Crump actually gained up some ground on him in the corner there. So let's see. Cameron Rich had tried that top lane a bit, but he has migrated back to the bottom. Seeing 3, 4, sometimes 5 distinct lines at Auto Club Speedway. And it's a track that's getting demolished in real life.
Yeah, one of the biggest movers backwards. Scott Crump's one of them going 2 positions back, but Nick Indelicato has started 5th. Has faded to 7th, whether he's trying to save tires or what the case is right here. He's gone backwards, though, compared to, well, except one of his championship competitors, everyone else up front.
It's tough for Nick Indelicato thus far to start this race. You know, he's 3.5 seconds behind Cameron Rich and falling. He's fallen out of this battle. This battle's pulling away from Nick Indelicato right now. You know, I'd say I'm concerned. He's the points leader, right? But he has not shown the pace. He got involved in a wreck last week. It dented up the nose, and when he wound up outside the top 10.
He also just lost 3/10 that lap to Matthew Weeks, who's now closing in.
Not great. I wonder if he's heated up the tires. Dylan Thomas is going to wreck it. Oh, my goodness. Big save from Dylan Thomas. He will lose both of these spots to Crump and Adams. If Crump had been a little bit closer, I thought for sure he was going to spin Dylan Thomas. That is what we've seen from that 03 car, though. A little bit, you know, over-aggressiveness, you know, potentially on the tires in this series, and it's caused some incidents. As that Nick Massey coming down pit road,
Sure
it is. Nick Massey has decided, and I'm sure Chris Wright's on the box, telling Nick Massey, look, you're not going to make it on one stop. We have to divide it into 2 stretches of 20, 1 stretch of 30. I guess maybe not that even. I mean, this seems even early for. This seems early for anything, unless he's going for those halfway stage points.
Definitely a strategy we're gonna have to watch here. We'll see. Oh, here comes Indelicato down pit road too.
Yep, Indelicato got the read. He and Seth Rawls jumping on pit road, trying to take advantage.
Jared Campbell's coming too.
Cameron Rich has definitely noticed, but hasn't done anything about it. And they are obviously risking going a lap down here. You know, they're going to go a lap down. They're risking a caution flag coming out. But with only a 15-car field, I think this is a risk you can take if you're Nick Massey and if you're Indelicato. Right? Cameron Rich has got the field covered today. That's pretty clear. And Gerald's... Oh, man, Indelicato not in his box.
The Barbie car in the back as well.
Look at that. Rawls out ahead of his teammate, and Delicato struggles into the pit box on the hot tires.
I believe that was Jared Campbell that was also having trouble back there.
That will not help Nick and Delicato. He's on the verge of going 2 laps down. Nick Massey's already halfway down the back straightaway, going into turn 3. Delicato hasn't even gotten off pit road yet.
Now, does this put Cameron Rich in the position where he's got to stay out here and try to make it to the halfway point?
Let's see. I'm waiting for Massey to finish a lap here so we see how much faster he is than Cameron Rich on those fresh tires. Massey ran a 40.8. Cameron ran a 42.5. It'll take 20 laps for Nick to catch Cameron at that split, but it won't be that split for the whole time. So it would have to be that Chris Wright and company know that Cameron Rich is going to have to pit before halfway. It's the only reason they would have made that call. Here comes Massey to unlap himself, and he will do so with ease around Cameron Rich. So the short pit strategy, you know, he's going to have to pit, I think, once more, right? You can clearly go further than this, so Massey will have to stretch it. He needs to hope that Adams, Thomas, and Melik don't bring out a caution here. Racing hard. That's the product you're going to get with this Gen 4 car. It brought out some good races at Auto Club. I can recall a couple of good ones. Adams trying to clear Dylan Thomas back, and will. Matthew Weeks has entered the battle. Worth noting that Seth Rawls hasn't even passed this group yet, so that pit early strategy worked out really well for Nick Massey. He's already back on the lead lap. Johnny Thomas coming down pit road this time. It's not working out for Delicato, Rawls, Campbell. They are still stuck a lap down. If that caution were to come out, they would be trapped. They would not be able to pit under the caution. And there are plenty of tire sets in the pits, especially because the race was shortened. 5 tire sets in the pits. You can pit for tires every time, just about. I don't think it would be... Something bad would be happening to your race if you were pitting 5 times in this one. Cameron Rich coming down pit road.
Here he comes.
He got to 55. Joe Francis stays out. He will assume the race lead. Cameron Rich has answered the move by Nick Massey. Massey was able to bypass him and get a solid 4 or so second gap. And he'll have, I believe, 6 lap older tires than Cameron Rich. Massey's coming off of turn 4 now down a very long sweeping front straightaway. Rich's team just putting the left side tires on. The gap will be fairly significant from Massey back to Rich. He's already by him.
Cameron Rich's stop was on average, compared to everybody else actually, it was 1 second slower than average. No, 15.8 compared to the average of 14.8.
Slow stop. I mean, he's back there by Delicato and Rawls.
Thomas pit road.
And now, and Dylan Thomas down pit road. Scott Crump's closed on Joe Francis for the race lead. Those guys can kind of, well, Francis's bet is made, right? He has chosen to stay out. I don't believe he's going to make it to the stage, but he will have the freshest tires entering stage 2. You just can't let 10 guys do this if you're Joe Francis. You do have to get some stage points. Josh Adams down pit road. Nick Massey has an 8-second lead over Cameron Rich. He's running a 41-second lap. Rich coming around. We'll see what lap he runs that isn't his out lap here. I'm willing to bet he's going to be about a half a second to a second faster than Nick Massey per lap. Joe Francis, Scott Crump battling now for the race lead. And Matthew Weeks' car just dropped out of this race. Connection issues for the 99 car. That's more points in favor of the 4 guys up front. Another driver that cannot get in front of him. At the line, Scott Crump's going to take the lead from Joe Francis here. Cameron in a 40.5, Massey a 41.3. 0.8 of a second, the gain from Rich to Massey. The play for Massey is obviously to get past after that lap 40 point. Going to be close. I think Rich. There go the fresh tires, the tire difference. Scott Crump's coming down pit road.
So I think that's just our top 2 that haven't come down pit road, right?
Yep.
Joe Francis and Gavel.
It's tough for me to rationalize what Joe Francis is doing here as Goodman comes down pit road. And Joe's staying out long, right? He's trying for it, but I just don't foresee him being able to make it to halfway on the set of tires.
Even if he does, his benefit here is going to be minimized because these guys are gaining points. So.
Right, he needs the points, and obviously this will probably help him long term, but you know, the gains from being that far out in front and with the fresh tires that early are just so massive, especially in such a small pack where the slightest mistakes can mean, you know, the difference between catching a guy and not. It's going to be tough, I think, for Joe Francis here. I mean, he's already going to get passed right now by Nick Massey. So Massey's going to be 20 seconds ahead of him.
Oh! Around!
And Joe is going to get it.
That's what Gavel wanted.
A gift. Ryan Gavel is the big beneficiary of that one. He's the one who stayed out. He is the race leader. Massey will be second. Though? Rich will be third. Oh, yeah, he's got fuel. I think they could have gone 35, 36. Gerald gets loose in front of Dylan. Nowhere to go. I think Gerald's on a little bit older tires. Dylan's on a little bit fresher tires. Dylan's expecting to follow Gerald exiting the corner, and Gerald has to bobble and catch it and get out of the gas. And sends the 31 car directly into the wall.
You know what didn't bobble? The Barbie movie. That was pretty alright.
I have not seen it yet. I think I will.
Pretty fun. The fun.
Did you go see Oppenheimer too?
I did not. I had to cancel on that plan, but I'm gonna try to see it this weekend.
Oh yeah, definitely gonna try to catch them both this weekend. Everyone's gonna come back down pit road here. Oh, go ahead.
I recently found out there's one of those actual true IMAXs kind of close to where I live, so I may go to that.
That'd be the move. That's what I heard. Wait, I don't have one. The nearest one's really far away.
Yeah, I think it's like 15 or so true actual IMAXs in America, and there's one in Florida.
So what I'm noticing, Scott Crump has stayed out. Joe Francis has stayed out. There's very little, if any, wear on those tires for the two of them. They just came down pit road. They will assume the race lead and second with just 5 laps to go in the stage. Then it'll be the race winner off pit road here. Ryan Gavel will have the advantage of being first car on pit road. We'll see if he can get out before Massey and Rich. I think he will. So Gavel, then Massey, then Rich, then Indelicato to follow Crump and Francis at the restart here. And Rich will have to come from 5th. After the strategy doesn't work out, and it didn't work out for Nick Massey, but it also kind of did because he was out in front of, you know, some of these guys, and he had, you know, was able to get back in the lead lap and make up some distance. But the caution changes everything here. I think these guys are one stop to the end, and they'll be able to cut this stretch in half. So 35 to 80 is what, 55 laps. I think you'll see him coming in anywhere between 20 and 25 laps into this run.
It'll make it interesting for sure. Going to be aggressive probably between these four over the next couple laps.
What you can't do is get into a wreck, though. Right? You can be aggressive here, and as Michael Goodman takes the wave around, you can be aggressive here. You can fight for this point, right? If Joe Francis and Delicato, Cameron Rich, you can fight, Nick Massey, you can fight for this point. But if you're going to get in a wreck, you have to be smart here. This is not the race win. This is a couple of points. It could be everything, but it also could be the rest of your season if you get knocked out and end up back there with Austin Pierce. You have to make it to the finish here, I think, to have a chance at this championship. And we've lost one guy. We might lose another if they're battling too hard here.
I think Cameron Rich learned very well where that line is last week.
Yeah, and we talked to him, right? I brought it up. At what point is the championship the bigger picture than holding on to the race win? I think Cameron would have finished third last week. Said he finished 18th. That's the distance, right? He would have been the points leader had he finished third last week. Gerald Campbell retired the 31 car after that incident. Scott Crump assumes the lead after he and Joe Francis stayed out late on green flag pit stops. Base car is in. We will go green 5 laps until they award halfway points at the stage, and Crump gets off early. Green flag's back out.
We're back to green flag racing. Francis looking to go up top, that's Gavel looking to go up top here on Francis.
Who that worked out for was Cameron Rich. It kind of cleared that bottom lane, and he was able to get in front of Nick Massey, but Massey's fighting back on the outside. Rich just able to get it in much deeper into these corners than the guys in front of him, right? He almost ran into the back bumper of Ryan Gavel right there, but he got loose on corner exit. That will allow Massey to pass, and Delicato's going after him. He snuck. That's damage. There's big damage on the right front or the left front of the one car.
That's the two that got into it last week too.
They were, Cameron praised their racing last week. He was saying they raced hard. I certainly up here felt like they were racing a little bit over the top as Joe Francis has put the hammer down. He is looking for the race lead on Scott Crump. I thought last week it was a little too hard, right? They were banging into each other. Ultimately, Cameron thought it was all right. So, I have to defer to the driver on that one. Joe Francis has a run on the race lead. Here comes the 50. 48 cars up top, though. 3 wide.
I think Nick Massey got it that time.
Nick Massey with a masterful move to the middle. Cameron Rich is going to follow him. Joe Francis can't get going on the bottom. He's going to lose, I think, back to 5th. Rich up to 3rd, picked up 2 spots in that corner. He's going after the race lead. Nick Massey's got it. Crump trying to fight back.
Why are we demolishing this?
Delicato is falling back to 6th.
But what is good, Carlos, is that this track will live forever on iRacing, and that's where it belongs, man. It's so good for this car, this tire model. Oh man, right, Gavel almost got into Cameron Rich, tucked it in behind him.
He had that car teed up right to the left door panel.
Cameron Rich has rear end damage.
Somehow gave him enough brake.
Oh, Gavel hit the wall. Rich slides in front of Crump. He will get there. Crump's still fighting back for that 2nd spot. This will be a big break for Nick Massey if he can come around one more time, pick up this stage win. Gaining on a guy who's you've got 10 points on is always huge. Can Cameron Rich get there on Nick Massey? One more lap to go to determine this halfway point. The battle for third is between Crump and Gavel. They are holding Joe Francis up. Francis is going to the top of the racetrack. He knows how important that third place is.
Almost a wreck there between Gavel and Crump. They got into each other. Francis might be able to clear him off the top side here down the back stretch.
He will. Joe Francis to third. He's going to have to run that top lane once again, but he's got the preferred line on Ryan Gavel. Joe Francis is going to be able to pick up, lose only 1 point to each of the guys that are in front of him right now. Gavel sideways in third. Nick Massey's going to win the stage. Cameron Rich just behind, and Joe Francis takes third. They all gain on points leader Nick Indelicato, who falls to 7th.
Yeah, he loses out on a ton of points there. Each one of them will gain at least 6 points on him.
Yep, Massey is going to be the points leader now. I think automatically after that, Massey gains 6 on Indelicato. He was 4 back. He's in the points lead. Francis gains 4 on him. He's only going to be 5 back. Rich gains 5 on him. He'll be 9 back. So there you go. Carlos can throw up a little math graphic for that one.
Let's do that again.
There it is. I believe now it's going to be Nick Massey points lead, 4 points over Indelicato, 5 over Francis, 9 over Rich. 4, 5, 9. There you go. Those are very rough estimates. Do not take my word for it. With that now, we have to back up and settle in. This race could go green to the end. These guys have to start thinking about that pit stop. Josh Adams going after Joe Francis, who made that heroic 3-wide pass on the top to go ahead and get that third place. Joe's now kind of settling in to try to run some laps, save those tires, maybe run long again and hope for another caution. With only 12 cars in the racetrack, I wouldn't count on it necessarily, but we've seen crazier things happen in ERSCA.
Yeah, with that being said, Joe Campbell, after that accident, just decided to pull it to the garage and call it a night. He has joined Matthew Weeks and Austin Beers to retire from the race tonight. So as David said, only 12 cars left to go here in this one.
Battle is from Ryan Gavel on back. Gavel pretty clearly cooked the right rear on that 0-1 car, fighting for those stage points. I believe he wound up 5th when that came through. He and Scott Crump both got sideways and have been racing really hard since the drop of the green flag after that first caution. Seth Rawls, Dylan Thomas also fighting it out. Indelicato, Johnny Thomas in this one as well. Gavel's in the wall. I don't know if he got some help from Scott Crump. He sure might have.
Heavy damage.
0-1 is
still on the wall. Still on the wall.
The car's broken.
Wounded badly.
No, it's good. It's good.
It's good enough. Rawls went way up top there. He was loose down the back straightaway. I think he's going to lose a spot here to Dylan Thomas. Johnny Thomas is going to let him go. Kyle Hanshaw got by. See what happened there between Crump and Gavel. Maybe Gavel just slid up in front of Crump and caught the fence. Looks like that's what happened. Right there. That car got loose and overcorrects back to the right. He's back going. He's at speed, but there's definitely right front damage on the 0-1 car.
There, you see the damage right there.
He'll be fighting back. Another guy with front end damage, Nick Indelicato, is hunting after Scott Crump for that 5th spot, trying to make up ground for those points he lost at that halfway stage. This is in front of a big battle between Rawls, Thomas, and other Thomas. No relation. Dylan drives to that bottom side. Johnny Thomas riding up top.
This pack has been together most of the day, kind of battling it out.
Yeah, they're wanting to fight pretty clearly. They're wanting to race. Only 12 cars in this race, but sometimes the race with the lower car count can provide better racing because you got a little more space, not so many opponents. You can just focus on the guys around you, focus on the track.
Ooh.
Rawls almost catches the fence. He and Johnny Thomas trying to draft by Dylan Thomas. Hunt down Nick and Delicato and Scott Crump right in front.
Yeah, this is where all the action is on track. The front three have even pulled away from Joe Francis, who's kind of in the middle right now, just ahead of this pack, and then off the pace of Josh Adams, Cameron Rich, and Nick Massey, your race leader. Massey has about a half a second lead over Cameron Rich in second as they go 3 wide.
This battle will not go away back here. Thomas cleared Rawls, came up in front of him. Johnny dropped to the bottom. Now Rawls jumped back to the middle.
They're putting on a show.
They are. They're not concerned about tires. I think they know this run's going to be the shorter run. You know, you got to come in, you got to be the first one in, you got to gain that advantage from back here, right? And if you're Nick Massey, Cameron Rich, which one of them is going to blink first when it comes to pit stops here? Is Rawls loose off of turn 4? That's to correct back up the racetrack. You know, which one of these guys is going to blink first, right? Only 0.2 of a second between them right now. Cameron Rich stalking Nick Massey. He was much better after 10 laps into the run. We're a little past that to this point. I think 14 laps into this run, that was when Cameron Rich got the lead last in that first run.
Oh, Johnny.
Oh, Johnny.
I'm trying to hold on to it.
Like I said, they ain't worried about the tires back here.
Rich
Josh
is
Adams.
closing in.
Yeah, Josh Adams closing in too. We talked to the 07 car last week. He likes the car, throwing back to Clint Boyer, and didn't want to put the 95 on it or change to the 07. He just likes the confusion.
So could we see the same thing play out here, David? Remember, it was 15 or so laps into the run. Cameron Rich got around Nick Massey for the race lead. Massey followed for, I don't know, I'm estimating 5 or 6 laps, then came down pit road and got new tires. Could that happen here again?
Absolutely. That said, you know Chris Wright is now... Yeah, I'm assuming Drew Eisenman's probably on the box for the 17 car. Not sure, I haven't seen him in the chat, so they might be elsewhere when it comes to Discord, or Cameron might be by himself. But Chris Wright's telling Nick Massey, we're going to do the same strategy, or Cameron Rich thinks we're going to do the same strategy, we're going to do a different strategy.
Here we go. Cameron Rich to the bottom, where he's been able to drive that car up off the corner all night. Not going to be able to clear Massey with the run off the top side, though, down the backstretch.
Finish here. I think Chris might rethink the immediately give up, immediately come down pit road after giving up the lead strategy here. Because Cameron Rich was coming. He was catching them pretty rapidly. He would have passed them on a full green flag run. So Massey, if he's going to short this run, he has to short it enough. As Adams makes the jump, he's going to come to pit road first. I think these guys will catch Josh Adams. Right, once they do come down pit road, they will catch him. There's too many laps to go to make this happen. But Massey's going to have to do it in such a way that Cameron Rich can't catch him. If he pits first, and if Rich pits first, Massey has to follow. Next lap. It has to be the closest possible lap. Ooh, Rich drove it in real deep. Could Cameron be coming to pit road?
Riches.
He could be. Cameron's coming down pit road. He's trying to short him, so Massey has to come this lap. He has to. There's almost no way he can stay out without it. And I'm sure Chris Wright's running the calcs, right? He knew how fast Cameron Rich was catching them at the end of that stage, how many laps it was going to take. And so what they're going to have to do is, if they do stay out a couple of laps to get that run back on Cameron Rich and have the fresher tires, how many laps can they stay out? I think you probably have to come this lap to just keep consistent with Cameron Rich, but also you might not beat him if you come with him right here. That's exactly what Massey's going to do. He's going to stay out and try to run this thing out, get that fresh tire advantage on Cameron Rich. I don't think you can stay out very many laps though. You're gonna just lose too much time.
Yeah, I don't remember what the difference was from when Rich ended up coming down to Massey, but he was 8 seconds back. when he came off
Right.
pit road.
Right, and by the time the caution flew, which was about 5 or so laps, he was 6 seconds back. You see, Massey didn't even put Rich a lap down. That's how much ground Rich ended up gaining there. And Massey
he's
had
coming
to
this
fall a
time.
lap down. Yeah, he is.
I think he's coming this time.
And Adams didn't even catch Cameron Rich. Joe Francis also not staying out long. Oh man, had to really woe it up. We'll have to watch Joe Francis's lap time or pit stop time.
By the way, Scott Crump got a black flag
Ooh.
after he exited pit road, so it was probably a merge violation.
Yeah, he'll likely get a standard drive-through penalty that race control Johnny Eckert can clear.
Is that clearable?
Yeah, once you come down pit road, you can clear the 40-second.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were
just
talking.
make it
yeah.
He wouldn't just clear it. No, Crump's got the black flags.
iRacing has drive-thrus now.
Does it?
Yeah.
Interesting. They need to put that in there, especially for speeding. Seeing as how I would get one every week. Massey and Francis off pit road. Rich is already ahead of Massey. He's already halfway down the back. And Josh Adams is closing in. This is a net negative for Nick Massey. A big net negative. He's going to be 5 or 6 seconds behind Cameron Rich with only 4 or 5 lap pressure tires. It's about as bad as it could have gone for the 48 car. I guess Crump's just going to serve the 42nd. Worth noting that the two guys who are 1-2 right now have stayed out to acquire that position.
Well,
and number 2 is pitting. Michael Goodman heading down pit road. He'll get a good finish out of this one.
Can Ryan Gavel get lucky for a second time?
I'm going to say no, but I thought that the last time. Nick Massey's closing in on Indelicato, who pit a couple of laps before him. Massey's first lap coming off pit road will hit at the line this time by, and we'll see how much ground he's going to be able to gain up on Cameron Rich. 45.4 Rich he's only about 0.3 faster than Cameron Rich. Yeah, I don't foresee that 48 having enough time to run down the 17.
Crump is good, no more black flag.
Johnny Thomas wiggling coming off of the corner. I don't know how he got up this far. Did he pit really early, I guess? Here comes
Johnny
Massey
Thomas
on Indelicato. Yeah, Johnny Thomas, he's up in 4th.
Johnny Thomas went down pit road on lap 52, so it was relatively.
Yeah, I think he followed either Adams or Rich down pit road.
Oh, here it is. Johnny Thomas,
two.
10 seconds in pit lane.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Johnny Thomas on 2 tires. He's driving like it too. That car is wiggling around all over the place, but he's got 4th place right now. It's just things a little wiggly. Definitely not handling so well. Nick Massey's going to blow right by him here. But, an interesting strategy call from Johnny Thomas. I don't think that's going to work out for him, but gave it a go. Cameron Rich reassumes the race lead as Ryan. Oh, I guess not. Ryan Gavel's still on track. Thought he pitted.
Oh, he is everywhere.
Gavel's gonna be the caution if he doesn't pick one up.
Yeah, I think he's pretty much cycled through except for him, so chances of one coming out are probably pretty slim at this point.
Mm-hmm. Adams riding that top lane, trying to pick up that extra couple tenths to get to Cameron Rich. Nick Massey is 5 seconds behind.
Look at that.
And they are gaining real big. Yeah, Adams gaining a little bit on Cameron Rich, but I think the 07's starting to get tight.
Yeah, I think we hit arrow push.
Yeah, he's got the point, but Massey's still about 0.4 a lap faster. I don't think he can catch him, but we'll see.
It might be close.
Who Massey runs this time by? Cameron Rich this time by at the line. Right now, 41.34. Nick Massey at the line now, 41.0. 3/10. That lap, he's got to pick up 4 seconds.
Oh, look at
That gap,
Over-
the gap.
Over 20 laps.
But again, Cameron Rich, so good, he might be able to be running lap times the same speed as Nick Massey, even with the older tires, once you get 20 laps into the road. Josh Adams, the last couple of laps, has lost time to both drivers. This outside line, it's good for defense, but it's really not the fast way around this place. You want to be driving to the bottom if you can.
Question is too, is Cameron Rich kind of saving it a little bit right now too?
Oh, he most definitely is, I think. He's trying to get into rhythm that once Nick Massey's tire advantage starts to go away, right? It was 3/10 again that lap. Once Massey's tires start to age, and as Rich's age, Rich has to close down the gains that Massey's gaining, if that makes sense, to where Massey can't completely catch it.
Oh, Adams loose out of the corner there.
Rode on board with Josh Adams for a few laps there. You got to see that wall riding lane that Adams is running, but it is wreaking havoc on his rear tires. He's in the gas fray a lot of the corner. Nick Massey's running that perfect, get down, touch the white line. You have to accelerate up off the corner. Kind of Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson bottom feeding lane. 48 car running a Jimmy Johnson lane. Go figure. This time by Cameron Rich, 41.7. This time by Nick Massey, 41.3.
Brian Gavel's still staying out here though. We're talking with Cameron Rich, who will eventually be our race leader, but can't forget that Gavel is still out here with 17 to go.
Yeah, Gavel's just at this point hoping for that caution. He will not be able to get to the race end, and even if he does, Cameron Rich will run him down before we get to the end of the race.
Yeah, I just kind of spaced out and forgot that he was out there for a second because I figured he would have came down pit road by now, but nope, staying out here for a long run.
Cameron Rich, then Josh Adams, then it's 3 championship contenders in a row with Massey, Francis, and Indelicato. Francis and Indelicato about 4 seconds behind Nick Massey here. I think Joe Francis has caught up to and gotten around Nick Indelicato for that 5th position, which will be de facto 4th once Ryan Gavel does eventually come down pit road.
Josh Adams is Cameron Rich's best friend right now, providing a little bit of a point buffer between him and Nick Massey. We'll see if Adams can hold his spot there, if Massey will get around him.
The way Massey's gaining, I think he will be able to get Adams, but I think working around Cameron Rich on old tires is going to be very difficult. I'm not even convinced Massey can get all the way to the back bumper of that 17 car, but having that tire advantage is key, and I think he's only about 3.5 behind to this point. Carlos with that amazing graphic. Keeping up with the gains Nick Massey is, and as long as Massey's in the green, there's a chance. Last time by Massey, 41.7. Josh Adams, 42.3. Cameron Rich, 41.9. As those tires finally start to plateau.
Oh!
Oh, Adams. That won't help the gap for Cameron Rich. Nick Massey going to be able to sniff a little draft now. I think he'll clear Josh this lap going into 3. Adams pulling over for him.
I think Adams is going to let him go. Yeah.
Adams struggling. Doesn't want to take out a guy running for the points here. Respectful move by Josh Adams for sure, but definitely not one Cameron Rich was hoping for. Let's see if Massey was slowed at all by getting up behind that 0.7. It's red that time. Right at the same though, between Massey and Rich. Same lap time, and that was one affected by having to maybe crack the throttle just a little bit for Massey to let Josh Adams get loose in front of him. And
$12 to go.
no,
11 to go.
Cameron Rich this time by 42.03. Nick Massey 42.03. Same lap times.
If you're Cameron Rich, this is when you want, like David was saying, right now is the time to limit that time that Nick Massey's catching in. Has a comfortable 2.5 or so second lead over Nick Massey at the moment.
Yeah, this is the, if you're Cameron Rich, now is the time to, focus ahead. If in theory it's you got,
Oh, no!
Oh, he's loose.
That's not good. That's not what I was saying to do at all. Cameron Rich knocks the fence down coming out of 4. This is going to get really interesting. Massey with a huge 2/10 gain, at least. Yeah, go ahead.
Gavel finally went down pit road, so he'll fall through the order here, which puts our 4 competing championship drivers in the top 5 now.
They're both hanging it out there. Massey extremely loose coming out of 2.
We knew Rich had some damage on that right rear from when he made contact with Indelicato, but have to wonder how much worse it is now knocking the wall down last lap.
I don't even know if he quite got the wall. Yeah, let's take a look at that. I don't know if he quite got the wall. I think he just gave it a little kiss, but it definitely slowed him down a little bit. That time by, they ran the same amount. It was just, they're both driving right on the edge.
That first hit, he hit it pretty hard the first time, and then kind of just tapped it again the second time, but it definitely got some pretty good right rear damage probably.
Thing is, the car's not showing it. Speed's still there. It'll be good to look back on that one with Cameron Rich if we get to this interview. See the big 2/10 drop there, but other than that, he and Massey have run just about the same lap time.
Inside 10 to go now, here to the finish.
Rich just picked up a 10th on Nick Massey too. Joe Francis is by Josh Adams for 3rd.
Delicato might have a chance. He's within a second here to pick up a spot. We might have our 4 championship contenders in the top 4 here.
I know, and that would be, after last week when only one got halfway points, what a shift it would be. Massey's kind of, I don't know if he's got the tire advantage anymore.
I think it's kind of stabilized here, right around 2.5 seconds. Coming to 8 to go.
And that's just what happens, right? On iRacing's older, this newer tire model, the lap times even out over the course of a run, right? Even if you start off with fresher tires, if you just stay out forever, you don't really keep dropping. You eventually stabilize and are able to kind of run the same lap times over and over. And once you hit that plateau, if you haven't gained all that ground back that you lost from pitting early, there's not much you can do, right? There's not a whole lot Nick Massey can do when he and Cameron Rich are really just running the same lap times right now.
Delicato underneath Adams here for 4th. Looking to make the move.
Worth noting, Adams pulled over for Nick Massey. He is not pulling over for Nick and Delicato, and I do believe Adams in that stable with Chris Wright, Nick Massey. I don't believe Adams is going to pull over at this point for that one car. He's going to make him earn it, and I think Delicato's got the tire and the car to do so. But Josh will put up a fight here.
Into 3 and 4 they go. Delicato down to the bottom again. Looks like Adams might get a little loose there in the corner.
He's side by side down the front straightaway. Adams has the run on that top side, and Delicato unable to bypass, and he'll have to tuck in behind to find a way around. Adams just going to keep running that top lane to try to play some defense here, keep that top 4 position.
Coming to 5 to go this time by.
I remember last week, Cameron Rich got in the interview room, very distraught, very disappointed, and said, I think that was our championship. I think that was it. I don't think we have any more of an opportunity. He'll have every chance next week. Right? He's going to have a shot.
He's going to need some help. He's going to need Nick Massey to have a little bit of a rough day. But other than that, I think he'll be okay. I mean, he's made up points on the rest of these guys. Massey beat him in the stage points, and now is finishing right behind him here in the race. So that'll be the one that he's really going to have to work on. But the other two.
Yep. And Delicato has gotten Josh Adams. Adams will fight back on the bottom, but I think Delicato is going to be able to win out here for this 4th position.
I mean, realistically, I think the only one that we can really say is out of it is Austin Beers with dropping out here 15 laps into the race today.
Yep, and Beers had such a strong regular season. Wound up being, I believe, the regular season champion. Ultimately, he's going to fall short, I think, of this championship, and it'll be down to the top 4 in this race: Cameron Rich, Nick Massey, Joe Francis, and Nick and Delicato. And how about Joe Francis, right? Won the pole for this race. He's going to come home 3rd. It's not going to be exactly the day he was hoping for, especially when you win the pole, but a really strong run. Led laps. He's going to pick up some points on these guys around him. He's going to be in the fight next week. And for a guy who made it into this championship hunt by being clean and avoiding incidents the whole season, I think that's a big, big moral victory.
You were right on with where I was going to go next, David. Exactly what I was going to mention. With, as you said, a guy that really didn't show too much muscle during the regular season has come out swinging here in the first 2 rounds. Now, with everything that went on last week, that probably helped him out a little bit, and it may have looked a little different if last week would have looked like this week with how our points contenders are running. But regardless, here he is in the top 3 tonight, putting himself with a good shot to go into next week trying to win a championship.
It does feel good, though, as we get to 2 to go, that, Cameron Rich has been the fastest driver all season long. He will have a chance to win the championship next week. And then the top 4 guys in the penultimate race are going to be fighting for a championship next week. Yeah, that means we got the right 4 guys, I think, in the championship. And obviously, Rich winning a couple of races. Joe Francis is going to have gotten there via the incident points, but the 4 guys who are up here, those are the 4 guys you want to see, I think, fighting for the championship at this point in the season.
3 guys will have a chance to win their first. 1 guy will look to be a 3-time champion.
Yep. He might be the favorite, too. I believe he'll be the points leader after tonight. White flag is out for Cameron Rich. Nick Massey did not close that gap down whatsoever, and it'll just be 1 more clean lap for the 17 car. And he'll come home a winner for, I believe, the 4th time this season. It's either the 4th or the 5th.
Down the backstretch, we'll set it a reverse of fortune from 1 week ago.
No. Nick Delicato got loose on the back straightaway on the last lap here. He does not lose 4th place to Josh Adams. But Nick Delicato avoiding disaster a couple of different times in this race. He'll still bring it home 4th.
Cameron Rich is going to win it here at Auto Club. Nick Massey will have 2nd, Francis in 3rd, and then Delicato will hold on for 4th to put all 4 in the top 4.
Josh Adams does come home 5th. Dylan Thomas with a strong run to 6th. Johnny Thomas, 2 tires, brings it home 7th. He did get some advantage on some of these guys, and right at the line, Michael Goodman takes 8th away from Seth Rawls. Is Kyle Hand?
Ryan Gavel and Kyle Hanshaw will round out The cars remaining on the lead lap, Scott Crump will have 8th, and then it'll be Campbell, Weeks, and Beers rounding out our field here tonight.
Tough break for Scott Crump. Got a penalty on the one pit stop that you didn't want a penalty for, where we didn't have a caution, marring the end of this race. This one finishes out very clean. Cameron Rich is going to be your race winner. We'll grab all 3 of our top 3 finishers here tonight. Good race though, clean one. Took having about a 66% field to get there, but we got there finally.
Feels good. There was definitely last year a bunch of races that went this way, and it feels good to get one in the books. I know I haven't been here all season, but feels good to have a good, clean, one caution race the whole way.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the one you're waiting for. And if you're running into this series just new to it, we've had some very crazy races. It's nice to have one not be so crazy. For now, I'm going to bring up Joe Francis, the 3rd place finisher. Joe, it's David in the booth. You got me?
Yes, I do. I was about to jump out, then I realized, oh crap, I got an interview.
Oh yeah, you do. Joe, but you won the poll over there, so starting from the poll, did you think you had anything for those guys, and did you maybe want anything else from today, even though you got a really strong 3rd place run, led some laps?
Well, the only thing I was thinking after I got the poll, I was just thinking, great, now I got expectations. Because I didn't really do a whole lot of practice before this race. I mean, I did practice during the practice session, but I didn't quite figure anything out that really gave me a whole lot of confidence going into the race. But I guess I had good enough short run speed to obviously get the pole, but Cameron was just on another level tonight.
Gotcha, man. And you're in this chase, you've got a chance for the championship, even if it's you haven't been the favorite all season. Is that changing your approach to these chase races, or are you just going out there hoping for the best?
I mean, that's about all you can do, just run as good as I can, but without destroying the car. Just hope for the best, and try your best, plan for the worst, but hope for the best, I guess. That's about it.
Yeah, and you got anything for him next week? It's Homestead, so Cameron will probably be good again, but do anything with him?
Homestead, I don't like to give myself more expectations going into next week, but Homestead is one of my better tracks. But like I said, I don't think I've ever raced Cameron much there, but I'm pretty sure he'll be fast there too.
Gotcha, man. We got any shout outs for us here before we send you off tonight?
I'd like to shout out my personal business, Numbers by Joe. If you have a favorite iRacing number, then I can turn that into a plaque you can hang on the wall. Just check it out on my Twitter page.
What's your Twitter, Joe?
Joe24ever.
There you
Joe
go.
F24ever, I believe. I got plenty of examples on there. Feel free to check it out.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on 3rd, Joe. We'll look for you next week, and maybe you come out the champion.
I appreciate it. And shout out to you guys doing the broadcast. You always do a good job.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot, and have a good week.
All right. Thank you.
3rd place finisher, Joe Francis. Let's grab Nick Massey. Nick, P2 tonight, but you did win that halfway stage. Take us through that early pit call, and then maybe anything else you guys could have done differently down there on the box. I know Chris was probably calling the race for you.
Yeah, he didn't agree with that first call. That wasn't his call. I didn't know I didn't know he was on the box until he said he didn't agree with the call. But but yeah, my plan was to just go, split the halfway there and pit at 20, 40, 60, and then go to the end. I think that was the move. I don't know. It would have been interesting to see how that would have played out, because we could go about 30, 32 laps on a tank of fuel. So I don't know if those guys were going to run it out and then pit at like 65 and take 4. I'm not sure, but yeah, that was a plan, just to go for the halfway points, because I knew that that after that first run, I felt like I had a good short run car, but man, just Cam is just so good at keeping the rear tires on the car, and then after about 10, 12 laps, he would find a different gear and start pulling away from everybody. So definitely props to him. But yeah, it was a fun race for sure.
Take us through that 3-wide pass going for the stage. Looked like a pretty ballsy move down the front straightaway, but it got it done, and you got the stage win. So yeah, take us through that.
Yeah, I didn't know the whole point situation. I should have studied that a little more coming into the into the night. I thought we were all kind of tied, 4 back from beers there. But yeah, I just figured that was my best shot to put a couple cars between me and Cam and a Delicado and get the max points here going into the final week. I knew that Crump and Joe were on a lap or two worse tires there because they pitted right before that caution. So I figured that was my best chance to kind of take the lead and maybe get a car or two between me and Cam and hopefully be able to hang on to it a little more than I did, but didn't last a whole lot longer.
And give us that last pit call, because as soon as Cam pitted and you stayed out, I was worried. And he got out to such a big lead, and it was a lead that you enjoyed after that first pit stop. You know, why did y'all stay out as long as you did? Why didn't you come the same lap as Cam?
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of debating that, you know, pitting and just countering right away or staying out a couple laps like we did. I think Cam may have gotten to me that first run. I don't know. It would have been really close if I wanted to hang on for the halfway points, but yeah, I figured I don't think I could have beat Cam on a long run like that if I matched him on tires. So I felt like I had to maybe get a couple laps tire advantage, and that was probably gonna be my only shot because I knew Cam, if he equal tires, I think he was a little better there on the longer runs for sure.
And the last thing I guess would be we noticed when you got to Josh, he kind of got loose in front of you and wound up giving you the spot. That kind of was the point at which you stopped gaining on Cam. You know, did you do anything to the tires there, or was it just kind of that's when the plateau hit?
No, I think Cam was kind of taking it a little easy there, and as soon as I got within like 3 seconds and made that pass on Josh, I think he kind of started around the top in 1 and 2 and really started pushing a little more. I think he knew that gap was there and just kind of conserving his tires and waiting to see if I could get there, because I was probably going about 85-90%. I was trying to just run the bottom and see if I could have a shot. I wasn't going to push and possibly wreck the car, wall the car, trying to get to him. But yeah, I think, you know, Cam's definitely a smart driver, and you know, he's been great all year. So he's been in that position quite a bit, I think, this year. All the wins he's racked up, all those tire conservation strategies. I don't know. I gotta watch him or talk to him, figure out what he does, because man, he's really good in this car, just keeping the tires on it.
I got you, man. Well, it looks like about 4 points back next week at Homestead. We know it's a 1.5 mile track. Cam will be good once again. Anything you can do to keep him behind you for your third ERSCA championship?
Oh, man, I don't know. I think it's all going to be about those halfway points. I think might be key. I mean, with the limited field tonight, kind of figured it was going to be key. I mean, if you didn't get halfway points tonight and you're in that championship 4 battle, you were going to be in a deep hole for the rest of the race and going into the finale. So I don't know. I like Homestead. I think it's one of my better tracks. So hopefully we'll be able to put together a good run and have a shot, because that'd be pretty awesome to get a third. But man, it's definitely tough this year. I mean, it's a tough Final Four. I think points are going to be tight, so it's going to be interesting for sure.
Alrighty, man. We got any shout outs for us here before we send you off?
Yeah, shout out to you guys. Hopefully it was a good broadcast. A little delayed, a little rain in the area, I think, in California here, coming into the race. But but yeah, shout out to you guys for waiting around and putting on the broadcast, and shout out to Cam and Joe up there. It was fun racing those guys, and Chris and Josh for helping me call the strategy there.
Gotcha, man. Well, congratulations on P2. We'll see you next week at Homestead. See if you can't get yourself a third ERSCA championship.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
That is 2-time champion Nick Massey out here looking for 3. Let's grab 0-time champion, but 4-time race winner this season, Cameron Rich. See what he has to say about that race victory. Cam, you know, it was a bit scruffy early on between you and Nick Massey, but you know, after you got some damage from Nick and Delicado, it looks like you got the job done. And I bet you didn't even know that damage was on the car, huh?
Well, I came into the pits the last time and it said like 11.8 seconds of optional. So I was like, where the hell did I get that from? But I guess it makes sense now. I did get I remember saying during the green flag that I had nightmares of last week when I saw my car jacking up from the rear, but I'm glad I was able to go straight this time and not meatball itself or whatever. That was a really fun race. It's a shame this track is going to become some overpriced housing unit or like a Copart lot or something, man. This track is awesome.
It was, and Carlos was actually mentioning that on the broadcast tonight. We were kind of lamenting that they're getting rid of it, because even though you only had 15 cars in this race, we still put on a really good show. A lot of really close racing. I think especially that battle for that halfway point was something special. And you could take us back to that. You came up just short to Nick on that front. You do get him on the full race, but those halfway points are going to be crucial, I think, next week. And you could tell when the intensity ramped up how big that was. So did you have anything else for him there when you were battling for it?
I mean, I definitely tried everything I had to go get those points, and it charred my tires a little bit. I had to sit there for a couple laps after that and kind of just he was driving away from me because he had the tires, and I just was trying too hard. And I think once I moved up to the high side is where I was able to find a lot of speed compared to probably a lot of other people tonight. But I mean, yeah, man, I was 14 behind coming into this race, and that's almost insurmountable when there's 15 cars in the race. So it's just one of those things where, like you said, every point's going to matter. And I had 3 objectives coming in tonight, and that was lead halfway, lead the most laps, and win the race. And I did, I think, only one of those. I don't think I led the most laps. But either way, I mean, these are really fun races. I mean, even just driving by yourself, practicing this car is a treat to run. And I hope that we can do like a more full season next season. And I'm definitely gonna try to be back and try to be as competitive as I've been this season.
By the way, you did lead the most laps, and you did score the most points in the race.
Ah, awesome. So I think, and I think 3 of the 4 other chasers finished behind me too. I think it was. So it's just going to be hard to come by those points. And I mean, obviously, because there's a reason those guys are in the chase, right? So you're going to see the cream rise to the top as always. I'm just glad that glad we were able to get another win tonight, and I hope next weekend we can, next Monday, can cap it off with a win at Homestead, my favorite track ever, that I have no history at whatsoever.
Oh boy.
I don't think anything has ever happened there.
Oh man.
Well, Cam, you're by the I think official count, you're 4 points behind Nick. So as you said, Homestead next week. 4 points is what you got to make up. What is going to be your plan going in to try to win your first ERSCA championship?
Same thing as tonight. Just get as many points as possible. It would be nice if a few more cars showed up and spread those points out a little bit, those possible points. But it's going to be the same plan as next week. Just try to get as many points as possible, and that's all I can do. Hope and pray. I'm not going to hope and pray for anything bad to happen to Nick, because Nick's just an awesome competitor. I absolutely love racing against him, so best of luck to him. I mean, the dude has won ERSCA championships before, I think like 2 already, and he's put himself in spot for 3. So I hope we can just have an awesome race and just have it be down to the, like the good old fashion race to the finish.
Worth noting that winning a race in ERSCA is 6 points more than second place. So you are now well within striking distance, my friend. Good luck next week. You got any shout outs for us?
I want to give a shout out to you guys broadcasting. Probably a little weird when it's all late like this and stuff, but we'll call it a rain delay, I guess. But yeah, long season. And my team owner Drew, he's not here tonight. He's doing some work, but hope he enjoyed seeing his car win. But yeah, we're gonna go into next week and just do what we can.
Awesome, man. Well, for what it's worth, we've definitely broadcasted it this late. We've had some races with like 15 cautions, so this ain't strange for us. But yeah, congratulations on the win, man. 4 wins this season. You've been kind of the dominant guy. I'd say you're the betting favorite, even with a 4-point deficit. So good luck next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Race winner Cameron Rich, and hunting for his first ERSCA championship. The official gap from Nick Massey to Cameron Rich in the point standings is 4. 5 points is Nick and Delicato, and 8 points back is Joe Francis. I think those guys are all very well mathematically eligible, regardless of who finishes, regardless of who shows up next week. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts? That was a really fun race.
It makes me very excited to see this championship battle heading into next week. 4 of the 5 still in contention. Realistically, possibly could have been 5 out of the 5. Who knows? But regardless here, 4 out of the 5 is going to be exciting. Like you said, there's probably 1 or 2 favorites leading the way, but it's going to be fun to see the action go down next week at Homestead.
Yeah, those guys could certainly get tied up together and hand this thing over to either Indelicato or Francis. You know, those guys are not out of it by any means, and you know, they'll certainly be hoping for a little shenanigans, but I don't think that that's going to be what happens. I'm guessing we're going to get one of those Massey versus Massey versus Rich races that we got like today, and it's Homestead, man. Cam's real fast at these 1.5 miles, so I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a really fun way to close out this season. But with that,
I'm sure Carlos is probably going to be getting a message from Cameron this week to make sure that he picks him, since he got back on the train this week and Rich ended up winning the race.
It's my penance. Cameron Rich at Homestead. The only way he's not going to win is if I start that race.
So we're going to get a little production and racing next week from you?
Only if somebody pays me well enough.
Alrighty, we'll hear that from guys who might need some help. Carlos will race for the right price. For Carlos Acosta and 3 Wide TV, whom we all always appreciate doing these events, I'm David Westergreen, and that was Dom Santina as well. We're saying so long. We'll see you next week for the season finale.